Hi, coming up next on the SPNN Forum, we have Mary McKeown, Executive Director of Keystone Community Services. Hi, I'm Martin Ludden, Executive Director of the St. Paul Neighborhood Network. Today on the SPNN Forum, we have Mary McKeown, Executive Director of Keystone Community Services. Mary, welcome to the forum.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. So let's start out. Can you tell us a little bit, like, what is Keystone Community Services and where did it come from and how did you wind up where you are today?
Sure. Well, Keystone has a long history in supporting people in St. Paul. So last year we celebrated our 80th anniversary. Wow. And we were actually started right here in the Marion Park neighborhood where SPNN is located. And we were started by a group of families that wanted to make sure that new families coming into the community felt connected. And 80 years later, we're doing the same work, but our footprint is a lot larger. And over the 80 years, we've added and merged with other organizations in St. Paul. We were originally called St. Paul Community Center. Then we became the Marion Park Community Center when we moved into our building right off of Wilder and St. Anthony. And then we merged with an organization called Capital Community Services, Youth Express, and then lastly in 2015 we merged with the West 7th Community Center on St. Clair Avenue. And so now we serve families, youth, and seniors all over St. Paul and suburban Ramsey County.
Oh, wow. So that's a lot of growth. I mean, it's 80 years, but
right.
It's a lot of kind of growth and shifting, but still keeping kind of the same general mission and services?
Yeah, and I think that's, as I was looking through our archives last year, it was really interesting to go back and see the purpose of the organization when it was started. And it's really not that different today. It's about making sure our communities are going to be stronger and safer, and people are going to want to live here if they feel connected to their communities. So the work that we do is primarily reaching out to low-income people in St. Paul and in suburban Ramsey County to make sure that they have the supports and the services that they need to feel connected and feel supported in their communities.
When you say that kind of the initial founding was to make sure that people felt welcome as they moved into Marion Park, was that, you know, folks moving from like elsewhere in the Twin Cities or Minnesota, or was there an immigrant focus, or what was that? It
was a little bit of an immigrant focus because we are from the settlement house tradition, which has an immigrant focus. But I think it's also been, anybody that lives in St. Paul knows how St. Paul is very neighborhood focused. And so if you move from one neighborhood to another, how do you feel connected to that neighborhood if you weren't born and raised there and moved 2 blocks away from where you were born and raised? So I think some of it was around making sure that families that were moving into the Marion Park neighborhood, which remember was on the outskirts of the city, would feel welcome and would feel connected. And so the people in that community decided that they needed a community center to make that happen.
Yeah, that's, you're describing my bio. But yeah, I mean, St. Paul is very parochial and tends to be not always the most welcoming place for folks that come in from outside. So that makes a ton of sense. How many, you know, what are the services that Keystone provides?
Well, we offer supports for youth, family, and services, and over those 80 years, they've changed. But many of our programs that people are familiar with. Food Shelf, that's our largest volume program. That's where we serve the most people. We also offer a Meals on Wheels program. Many people know about that, where we deliver hot meals to seniors by volunteers, making sure they not only have that nutrition, but they also have that check-in every day. We offer after-school programs for K through teenagers, so making sure that young people are connected, have the academic supports that they need, and are able to participate in really vital after-school programs. And then a lot of things in between that. Right now we're offering tax assistance at both of our community centers. So that's another way that the community comes and gets support. And they maybe only see us once a year, but that's how they know us.
Right. Oh, and that's, you know, that can be the doorway into all the other services.
Correct.
Are your after school services primarily out of the 2 community centers then, Marion Park and West 7th?
Yeah, actually, Marion Park, we don't offer after-school programming because Parks and Rec offers that. But we do we're a 21st century learning community at the West 7th Community Center, so that's a grant through the Minnesota Department of Education. and we serve over 100 students there, and they come from 25 different schools.
Oh, wow.
So they're coming from all over St. Paul to participate, and it's a free after-school program. So again, it's really geared towards low-income families that wouldn't have the resources to participate in a fee-based program. Yeah. And then we also offer an after-school program at McDonough Homes, which is a public housing community up in the North End area. And then our teen programs are more spread across all our sites because we do an employment program at our Express Bike Shop on Selby Avenue. We operate a Best Buy Teen Tech Center. So we have more opportunities for teens, but they're a lot more mobile than, say, you know, a elementary age student.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about the bike shop? I think that's a really interesting model.
Well, we are so excited about our bike shop because we are celebrating 25 years of providing a social enterprise. And what a social enterprise means is that the reason we are running a bike shop isn't because we like bikes, it's because we want to teach youth employment skills and how to run a small business, because the majority of the people in this country work and operate small businesses. So they come to the bike shop, they learn not only how to be a bike mechanic, but they learn what it means to pay the bills, bring deposits, do marketing, scheduling, all those kinds of things. And all of the funds from the bike shop then go back into the youth employment program.
Yeah, and to come out of high school already having that experience on a resume is what a boost.
Right, and what we find is some young people come into the program and they're all fired up about learning bike mechanic skills, but what they learn is that they're really good at customer service, that they just have a knack of when a customer comes in, being able to help them get the right bike. And they learn that they have some skills in areas that they didn't think they did. Other young people that have come to us are really into the social media, so they do great marketing campaigns for us. But they came to us as a bike mechanic, but because we teach them all aspects of what it means to run a small business today, they're able to kind of hone those skills in areas that they have the most interest, and that they can find some new skills that they maybe didn't think they had.
Yeah, I mean, customer service is so important. I know, as you know, when I hire, and people don't tend to put it on their resume anymore, but that's always a question. Like, have you ever worked retail or restaurant or done customer service? Right,
and we just know that there's a lot of skills at any of our sites where young people work, that they can get really good skills that are transferable to either a college career, to another job, to another part-time job, and that's really what we're trying to do. And for many of the young people, again, because we're really focused on low-income young people, this is the first time they've applied for a job. So we're helping them figure out, where's your Social Security card, and if you don't have it, where do you go get it? So really helping them get some of those tools in place so then they can be successful down the road when they're applying for a different job.
And in a much lower pressure setting than.
I always say our bike shop managers, they have to be really skilled bike shop mechanics, right? Because we got to make sure the bikes going out of our shops are safe and are working properly. But they also have to be youth development specialists, and that's a really unique characteristic for our staff, and they're just wonderful at it because many of them were apprentices themselves, and so kind of came up through the program and have stayed with us and are now managing the bike shop.
Wow, and so there is an apprentice program in place there?
Yes.
So there's a formal track kind of?
Yep, it's a formal track. Some students only stay with us for 3 months, some are with us for 6 months. They can move into an advanced apprenticeship as well. So.
And are they paid a stipend through that program?
No, they're paid a salary, so they get a wage, and they're getting the prevailing wage of St. Paul, and so we're paying them just like they would if they were working somewhere else. And then we have employment at other sites as well, so we have youth employed at all of our sites, mostly in the summer because that's when they have the most availability. But our teen tutor program at McDonough, we have youth that work with us year-round. And they get paid to provide a literacy-based curriculum with young people at that site.
Okay. So outside, I mean, the youth programs as well, do you have like referring partners? How do people find you for, like the food shelf or for Meals on Wheels or for some of those programs?
Well, I would say that most of it's word of mouth. It's a neighbor, somebody's heard about us. 211, which is the United Way First Call for Help program, that's where we get the majority of our referrals. And then other organizations. So we have a really strong partnership with Right Track of St. Paul for our youth employment program. And then, of course, the schools are really strong partners, St. Paul Public Schools as well as all the other schools. And so they'll send families our way. And then because we've been around for 80 years, people know about us, you know, and if someone's had a good experience with us, they're going to share that with somebody else.
Right. How, you kind of, as the organization spread out, and I think sometimes you lose sight of how big it might actually be. So what's kind of, how many people are you serving? How many people are you employing? Like what's the scale? Yeah,
so last year in 2019, we served over 37,000 people. So that's a big chunk of people in Ramsey County. It's literally around 6% of Ramsey County residents. And so we often kind of pinch ourselves and say, wow, that's a lot of people that we're serving that are coming through our doors in some shape or form. And one of the things we love about our programming and the way we do our work is that you might walk in our door and nobody expects that you're someone there for services, because you might be a volunteer, you might be a participant, you might be someone, like I said, coming for tax assistant, you might be coming for a meeting. So at many of our sites, you know, you're not walking in with kind of a known entity that you're coming for this or coming for that. And many of our participants are also volunteers. We have 2,500 volunteers who support the work that we do. Literally, that equals 16 full-time positions, and we could not do our work because we only have 80 staff supporting those 37,000 people. So the 2,500 volunteers that we have are critical to helping us get the work done.
So those 20, that's a ton of volunteers. How, if someone wants to plug into that space and be a volunteer at Keystone Community Services, how would they start that?
Well, we try to make it as easy as possible because we need volunteers. So on our website, people can just sign up online, and then they'll get a phone call from our volunteer coordinator, and they're able to choose on the online application, and it's pretty simple. What are their interests? And then we'll talk with them about what's available. So for instance, some people really love that Meals on Wheels delivery. Some people really want to just stock shelves. They don't want to deal with people, they don't want to help shoppers, they just want to stock shelves. And then other people really want to do that one-on-one tutoring with the young person. So the beauty of our services is that regardless of what age you like to work with or what kind of work you want to do, there's a volunteer opportunity for you at Keystone.
You can find a home.
Yep, absolutely.
Stepping back just a second, I really liked what you said about how, when somebody walks in the front door, you might not know what they're there for.
Yep.
And I think especially when we talk about food insecurity, there's a picture that we have in our heads that is not accurate.
Right.
So can you kind of speak to what's the demographic of most of the people that you serve?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, our food shelf program is our highest volume program. So over 27,000 people participated in our basic needs, either through our food program, accessing our food shelf, or coming to one of our free produce distributions, or they're getting crisis support from us because we are able to help people with that as well. What generally happens is that people are coming to us because they're working, they have an emergency that comes up, and they just cannot stretch that monthly budget to fit all of the bills that come. And one of the biggest crises we have, and people have read about it, most people know about it, is we have a pretty significant housing crisis in the Twin Cities and in St. Paul in particular. And so what we're always telling families and what we're trying to communicate out is, stay housed, pay your rent, come to us, and a family of four can get once a month groceries worth about $180. And that includes lots of fresh and healthy foods, so that you can stretch that monthly budget. And our numbers continue to go up because the difference between what people are making and what the rents are continues to really be a gap. So right now in St. Paul, an average two-bedroom apartment is about $1,200. Most of the people that come to our food shelf are making $800 a month. So that's a big gap. And then if you have a car issue or a healthcare issue or anything like that where you need to spend some extra money, we are really encouraging folks to come and use our food shelves, and they are. Yeah.
If you're just joining us, we're here with Mary McKeown, Executive Director of Keystone Community Services. Thanks for tuning in to the SPNN Forum. So that I feel like there's more awareness now. It's coming around that so many of these root issues come back to housing
Right.
and housing and housing. Are there other things that can happen outside of kind of Keystone's purview that would help? Like, kind of, are you working towards housing issues too? Or are you supporting? Where do you fit into a broader?
Well, where we fit in the housing is, first of all, like we said, we offer those food supports
Right.
that help people stretch their dollars. We also offer crisis support, so we can help families if they're behind on their rent.
Okay.
We have great relationships with landlords all over the Twin Cities, and so we can offer that support as well, because as I said earlier, right now we know it's really important for families to stay housed, anyone to stay housed. The other thing that we can do is we can really be an advocate for that family if there's some kind of unlawful detainer, or we can help connect them with other services that can help them either bring in more income, make sure that they're signed up for all of the programs they can be to get the income they need. And then our biggest partner in this work is Second Harvest.
Okay.
And one of the things that has worked really well is they have worked with our local grocery companies, and we are now getting food rescue items at our food shelf that we didn't have 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And that means all of those things that a grocery store might have thrown away before, maybe it's a red pepper that has just a little bruise on it, they might have thrown that away. Those are coming to us now. And so
Fantastic.
we're able to get more food out into the community than we ever have before. Our biggest challenge is that we have sites that are not really conducive to the volume of food that's coming into our site and the number of people who are coming to us.
Yeah.
So one of the things we're looking for is down the road, and with our new strategic plan, looking at building a new community food site that would allow us to bring in even more food to bring out to the community, and then also be able to support more people.
Yeah, that's a great segue. So as you work into your 81st year, and what trends are you seeing? What's coming down the pipe for Keystone, and kind of where's that new strategic plan taking you?
Well, we were so lucky last year, I should say, in 2019, where when we started our strategic planning process, we had a task force of people that helped us design it and said, we really need to talk with our participants. So we did interviews, we did a survey, we brought surveys with interpreters to all our sites, so people who who don't speak English as their first language could participate as well. And we had over 750 people inform our strategic plan, which we feel really good about, because then we feel like we really heard from our community, volunteers, donors, participants, community leaders, community partners, people that are really connected to the work we do. And what we heard loud and clear is we need to expand our food and crisis supports, because there are just so many people in our community that need that help. On average, our food shelf participants come 4 times a year. They're not coming every month.
Right.
They're coming really when they need that stretch in their budget. And so we want to be there for as many people as we can be and utilize all the resources that are out there. So one of our big strategic goals is expanding our food support and crisis support for people in our community. And we're at 27,000. We had a 9.5% increase last year.
Oh, wow.
We had 11% increase the year before. So we know those numbers continue to go up, because people's wages aren't going up at the same rate that the cost of food, cost of housing, cost of travel, healthcare, all those things are going up. So there's going to be more people that need that support.
Yeah, so that's 10% year over year.
Yeah.
How long has that been happening?
That's been happening now since about 2015.
Okay.
So we have a lot of people that say, oh, our economy's doing really well. Well, it's doing really well for a small segment of our population, not for the largest segment in St. Paul and suburban Ramsey County. And then we have a rising number of seniors in our community as well. And so one of the other things that we're doing as a result of our strategic planning is we heard loud and clear that we need to be there for all of those seniors in St. Paul, like we have been for so many years, and also for the young people. So we're really trying to expand and create programs that invest in their futures. So for young people, that means making sure they have the academic skills, the social skills, the employment skills that they need. And for our seniors, it means that they're able to live in the community the way they want to and feel connected to their community.
Well, and that Meals on Wheels and similar services, I would imagine, help seniors stay in their homes and stay in their communities for longer.
Yeah, and one of the things that was interesting about our strategic plan that we were kind of surprised by, I said earlier that we have 2,500 volunteers that support us. we hadn't thought about the service that we provide by being a place where people can volunteer and give back to their community. And what we heard loud and clear was that we need to do more of that as well and engage more people, because one of the things we know about St. Paul and the Twin Cities in Minnesota is that we are a very generous, connected community, and people want to give back. They want to make a difference about hunger relief. And so they not only want to give us a check and help us be able to support the program, but they want to come and stock shelves, or they want to be able to do something that makes them feel like they're making a difference in making their community a better place. And so that's the other real push out of our strategic plan, is to really expand our opportunities for people to be engaged. And for many of our seniors, that's the first time they connect with us, is when they're a volunteer. They've just retired, they're looking for something to do, they want to deliver meals or work at a food shelf or tutor. And then we're there when a situation happens where maybe they have a caregiving situation where they need help, or they need to look at a different housing situation because of healthcare issues. And we have case management support to help them do all of that as well. And then we're there for them as they're learning and changing their lives and trying to figure out how they still stay connected to their communities.
Well, and that's, how do you have any sense for how frequently someone goes from a volunteer to a client or a participant?
Well, I don't have real numbers off the top of my head, but I can give you an example. So we had a woman who was a senior coming to our exercise class, and this is a little bit of an opposite one, but she was coming to our exercise class. We had a speaker coming in to talk about Alzheimer's and dementia. By coming to that class, she realized that her adult daughter was suffering from dementia.
Oh, wow.
And so we were able to get her the help and support, and their whole family, including a granddaughter and the whole family, to be able to get them the supports that they need, so the mother could support her daughter and the granddaughter could be part of supporting her mom and her grandma. And those things happen all the time. We have participants that have been coming to our food shelf. Now they're kind of got a good job, they don't need to use that food support anymore, and they come back to volunteer and support the work that we do. So
yeah, that's the other direction flow, which I have to imagine is incredibly gratifying to see.
Yeah, and I'm always grateful because we have so many participants that send us little notes that let us know what a difference it's making, and that helps on those days when you're feeling a little overwhelmed by the number of people coming through the door.
Right. If someone wanted to, contribute to the food shelf, for example, do you accept donations of like groceries from the community, and what are the best things people can bring?
We do, and right now it's Minnesota Food Share Month, and so we are trying to get the word out about the need and the hunger relief efforts that are going on in the Twin Cities and in St. Paul. And so we always ask people if they want to donate protein items. So that's peanut butter, tuna fish, beans, anything that's a protein, because those things fly off the shelves. So as soon as we put 10, stacks of tuna fish on the shelves, it's gone. So any of those kinds of items, we have a list on our website that identifies all the items that we need the most of. The other thing we need are toiletry items. We need things like, and I was talking about this the other day about, your Target run, that $100 Target run that for a family that's struggling with making ends meet, getting shampoo, getting toilet paper, getting diapers, paper towels, all those things. So we can always use those items too. So sometimes businesses will do like a food drive just on protein items, or they'll do a hygiene kit drive so they can collect all those things and then turn them into kits that we can then give out. So, and they're all very much appreciated by the families.
Proteins and toiletries.
Yes. And if you go to our website, we have a list right there that you can print out and bring to your community. And we are so grateful for folks that do those drives for us. The other thing is if people donate cash, we are able to use that cash, and we're able to pay about 12 cents a pound to get food from Second Harvest. So we can make those dollars go really far and be able to bring more food to the food shelf by purchasing it through our partner, Second Harvest.
Well, and any nonprofit will tell you that cash is king and unrestricted, and you get to use it where you need it most. So unrestricted funds and donations are always very much appreciated.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And one of the other big changes that's going on in our community is just as those workplace campaigns are waning, and as people are wanting to do a different kind of giving, they either want to be connected as a volunteer and then give, or they want to have some kind of touch point with the nonprofit they're working for, it's really important that we are raising funds from our community to support the needs of the community, because with 9.5% more people coming to us for our food shelf services alone, we need to raise the money to help support that and make sure that we have food.
Yeah. Well, Mary, thank you for spending some time with us today on the forum, and thank you for the work that you're doing to keep our St. Paul community strong and fed and served. And if you need more information on Keystone Community Services, you can go to www.keystoneservices.org or find them on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn for volunteer opportunities and food shelf needs. This has been the SPNN Forum, and thanks for tuning in.